somebody had said we were using drugs, we were smoking weed. They eat it, and you drink the blood. It's one of the essays in the book.
Welcome to another edition of
A Talk on the Table.
Well, today we have a very special guest, a sort of a renaissance man of things. He's a writer, he's a teacher, he's a musician, a comedian,
What else? You
a
an
world
author?
traveler, you're everything.
Are you an astronaut too?
No, I'm afraid of space. Yeah.
Okay.
I have agoraphobia.
You want to introduce
get
yourself?
close to them.
Hi, everybody. My name's Chris Tharp. And yeah, I've kind of had my fingers in a lot of pies, I guess, over the years. But it's good to be here.
Well, thank you.
A talk on the table, and it's a wicker table, isn't it?
Yeah, it's kind of wickers,
Yeah.
Yeah, but we're not here to talk about the table. We're here to talk
Really?
about you.
Like, I thought this whole interview was going to be talking
No,
Are you
about
also
the
an
table.
expert on furniture?
That's table talk. This is-
Yes. I'm in the wrong. I'm sorry, I gotta go. I'm in the wrong interview.
Well, good luck
okay,
getting out.
anyways.
You don't like big
Yeah,
spaces.
well, since you're here,
Yeah.
we're going to talk about you.
Oh, great! My favorite subject,
All
by the
right,
way,
okay.
is me. Yeah.
Okay, so
Egos.
you're from the U.S.
Yeah, I'm from Seattle area
Oh,
in Washington State in the U.S. Yeah.
What brought you to travel the world?
Well, that's it's kind of a succession of things, and I'm not sure if I've traveled the world. I've seen parts of the world, but there are still large, vast areas I've never set my foot in. I've never been to Africa. I'm untraveled in most of Europe. I've never been to South America.
Okay.
But I do love travel. I always have, but I was living in the States for a long time. I mean, like we all were. I guess we're all Americans.
Yeah.
But I was living in the States up until 2004, and kind of spinning in my own wheels at a certain point, and I decided I really wanted to travel. That's what I wanted to do for a long time, but didn't. I didn't kind of have opportunities, so I took a job teaching English here in Korea,
Okay.
and used that as my launch pad to go here and there, especially in Asia and a few other places. And then I started writing about it, and that kind of launched a second career. So
Use this as a launch pad. Well, that's what I'm doing too, but I'm still launching.
Yeah, I need more fuel.
I guess so. I mean, so that's kind of what started. Travel's always been a passion of mine, but I was after university, I had a theater company, and I was an actor and like a kind of a half professional improv comedian. I did that for years, but it was very little money, and so I lived paycheck to paycheck and sweating rent, and always kind of financial insecurity was like the constant.
Yes.
Until coming to Korea, and then suddenly that kind of went away. I haven't made a lot of money in Korea, but I've never sweated paying rent. I've always had a little money in the bank, and so then when that's the case, it's easier to self-actuate. Then actualize.
Yeah.
What got you interested in acting way back when?
That's
And starting a theater troupe of your own?
yeah. I did have a theater troupe for 10 years. I was a kid actor.
Okay.
There was a group. It was my music teacher, actually, in elementary school. Used to put on.
Elementary school.
Yeah, she started putting on these musicals like Peter Pan, and she would write them herself. She'd cobble together a script and then steal songs from different Broadway shows and movies. Yeah, so that way she didn't have to pay rights on a script. You don't have to pay anybody. And then she cast like 40 kids in the show, so everyone's in the show. And so I kind of caught the bug early on. And then was in high school drama and did all the plays and musicals in high school. And then I got a scholarship to go to an art school in Seattle called Cornish. So I went to Cornish, and I met these guys at Cornish, and we started this group called Piece of Meat Theater, which we did like plays and sketches, and it was very crazy with lots of blood and prosthetic, sexual organs and men playing women. It's kind of like, Monty Python meets like live action South Park. But we were also classically trained actors. We could do Shakespeare and we were trained and all that. Supposedly we had chops and we were kind of serious artists. We do shows and we did doing pretty well, got a lot of press in the papers in Seattle, and it was kind of exciting. And then we moved to LA thinking, okay, now's our chance, After about 3 years of that, while still enduring grinding poverty, I said, screw it, I'm done. I want to see the world. So
Yeah. Okay.
I pulled the parachute and left LA. But that was my acting thing. And then when I came to Korea, I actually did a little bit of acting the first couple years, and then I stopped. So now I'm retired. And then if you don't count Bapapalooza, which is after that.
But what's
Yeah, what is Papa Palooza? Everybody talks about Papa Palooza.
Yeah, I remember a little bit about it. But when was that?
This was 2006, I believe.
Okay.
Yeah, the winter, like December, because I was thinking about Piece of Meat Theater, which is my old group, and we wrote all our own stuff, and it was very exciting doing and we did a lot of late night shows. You do them late at night, and sell some beer, and everyone's drinking some beer, and like this kind of crazy comedy. It's late night theater, which is a huge thing in Seattle and LA and Chicago and New York back home. So I said, why don't we do a late night sketch comedy show, and we'll do it all in English, and we'll write sketches about living here in Korea and all the foibles, and because there's so much material. But also you have to be careful not to step on any cultural toes.
Right,
And we perhaps made that mistake in one or two sketches. So we did the show, we produced it, we wrote it over the course of a few months. We assembled a cast, we practiced it. It was a lot of fun. Steve directed it and was also in it, and I was kind of I was one of the writers, and I was in it, and we rented a little theater in Gwangali. It's no longer around. It used to be in the basement, and we just did 2 nights of shows, 2 performances only.
Oh, weekend.
Yeah, and late night. I think the
yeah.
show was like 10 at night. So we bought a bunch of beer, and we just sold beer informally. Okay, because that's you're already getting into trouble now.
Yeah,
selling
yeah,
booze when you don't have a license
yeah.
to sell booze.
Ah.
Okay, but I mean, we're like, who cares? It's just a little show. It's not like we're doing this continuous. It's just 2 nights. A week later, all of us who were involved with the show got a visit from detectives from the Busan Police Department.
Okay.
Wow.
Yeah, the cops came for us, and they're like, to our work, which was strange.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, we need to talk to you about your performance. Like, what? Oh, you guys did a performance last week? And yeah, you need to come to the police station. We need to talk to you. And then as soon as I got to the police station, I realized that this was serious. They were really interested in us, and that they were going to investigate us thoroughly, and they did. I was interrogated for 3 hours. I was placed under arrest, and I wasn't handcuffed, but informed I was under arrest. I was fingerprinted. And then they sat down and interrogated me. Now, it wasn't like a bare room, with a light bulb and a guy. And of course, they asked me, they're first, oh, what are you guys doing? Because we charged money for the show. But what became clear, at first they started asking us, oh, well, you were charging money to get in, but what are your visas? You're on E2 visas or E1 visas. And then we're like, okay.
You're not allowed to do that.
Yeah, so first of all, they had us on that. But this wasn't an immigration investigation. This wasn't immigration. Now they could have come and said, you guys, and that's what
get out of here.
these are the police.
The local police?
Yeah, these are the Busan Police Department. We were at the Busan. This wasn't immigration. They weren't involved at all until later.
Okay, a little.
Okay, and then they said, oh, you're selling beer. That's another violation of your visa. And then they said, oh, by the way, do you know in Korea if you want to perform,
some sort of license?
you need a permit. And we're like, what? Yeah, you need a performance permit? Oh, yeah, but they never kind of produced the law. But I think there is an old law that's never enforced.
Right.
Maybe. They cited this obscure law. This is a law that I think maybe dates back from like the Park Chung-hee times, like the 1970s, when everything was really clamped down in Korea,
Yeah.
Okay.
So if you want to do a play, technically you need to get a permit to do a play. Anybody, Koreans, foreigners. It's never enforced, but they were bringing that up. But then as it went on and on in the interrogation, what became very clear is there was one particular sketch that we did.
Okay.
And it was called the immigration sketch. And it was, yeah, there we go. And it was written by one of our members, and it was a controversial sketch. The idea was it was an immigration office at the airport. And so, and one by one, a foreigner would come in, like just off the plane from Korea, and there was 3 immigration officials. We had like wigs and kind of speaking like bad Korean accent and asking questions to the foreigners about Korean culture and stuff like eating dogs and like, very touchy cultural issues, and also mocking people in authority. And originally, we tried to cut the sketch. It's not
Sketchy.
gonna, yeah, it's.
Sketchy sketch.
Sketchy sketch.
It's a sketchy sketch. It was
Sketchy sketch.
it was the sketchiest sketch in the
I'm in the
sketchiest sketches.
pun
Yeah.
corner here.
Yeah. And yeah, man. And so we confronted the guy who was an integral part of the cast. We said, "Hey, man, your sketch has to go. It's too racist." And he was like, "No way. We got to do it. I thought you're for free speech, free expression." And he threatened to quit the show.
Wow. Yeah.
So we just said, "Screw it. All right, we'll keep it in. And what's the worst that could happen?" Flash forward 3 weeks later in the police station. So they held this over our heads. We got investigated, but then we weren't sure. And like 9 or 10 people went in. A few people left the country. Were hiding out.
Wow.
It was like this paranoia, and people stopped doing music. I mean, like,
Yeah, stopped doing music.
yeah, there was no, like, for a year, almost no performance happening in Busan.
By anybody.
But yeah, because people were afraid.
Yeah.
Because they're like, oh, now the police they're watching us, and they could use any pretext to bust us. If supposedly we need a permit to sing a song on a stage, we need a license. So
The thing is that do you think it would have been better if also the person selling the drinks, if you were, instead of performing at a venue that you had kind of rented it, it was actually at a venue that was a business unto itself.
of course,
Probably owned and operated by a local Korean person.
yeah, or even a foreigner who had a bar who's married to somebody else.
Okay, yeah.
Like, just do it at a bar, set up that. But we wanted an actual theatrical experience. It's kind of hard to do. We wanted a lighting grid, a real stage, comfortable seats. So But Peter, you're right. Yeah, we were kind of stupid. We thought, no, who cares? Because no one had had this kind of problem before since we had lived there. It was new. Well, and it made press. But of course, by the time it sort of filtered up, it was all hearsay. The journalists were just making stuff up. So it made us look really bad, but there was no fact checking going on. It was crazy. The final thing, and they asked us this in the police station, because online, and somebody had tipped them off, erroneously so, somebody had said we were using drugs. We were smoking weed at the venue, which was absolutely false. But somebody was out to get us, and so yeah, we were all piss tested as well. Luckily, no one had been using drugs, so it was all a witch hunt. But and then finally, the cops sent it up to the prosecutor's office, and they said, "Just wait." So we went to the prosecutor's office and sat down, and he's this amiable guy and speaks very good English, and he kind of looks through the file, and it's like. Kind of laughs at it, like, "Oh, those foolish bumpkin police, so we knew we weren't going to get into serious trouble."
Right.
But then he's like, "However, you did offend Korean sensibilities and violate the law, so you must write letters of apology promising you'll never do it again." And that's all that came of it until immigration time. So everybody who's involved, we think we're in the clear, and then when it comes time to change jobs and get a new visa, suddenly, like at work, they're like, "Oh no.
You have a blemish now."
Yeah, there's a problem. Immigration says no. And so immigration was refusing to issue new visas to all of us. So, yeah, it was, that was kind of the last tentacle of justice.
Yeah.
So that's the Bobapalooza story, yeah.
Okay. You're also a writer.
Yeah.
You wrote a few books.
Yes.
Your first book was what?
Dispatches from the Peninsula, 6 years
6 years
in South Korea. So, I mean, of course, now, 6 years was a long time ago. So
like 10 years ago.
Outdated. Maybe you should write a sequel to book.
Yeah, maybe. That might be happening.
Yeah, I was going to say, I think I do remember there being a second book.
Well, there is a second book. Yeah.
Was that a sequel to this?
No, it was different.
Okay.
The first book, Dispatches from the Peninsula, is just about me, my life. It's a memoir. So why I moved to Korea, how Korea was great and wonderful and funny and strange, stories about adapting to Korean culture with some information about teaching and that, kind of coming of age in a foreign country. So that's the book. And then the second book is travel essays. It's called The Worst Motorcycle in Laos. Essays of there's Thailand and Indonesia and the Philippines and Laos, of course. A couple in Korea, Japan, China. It's just about travels all over, and there's 16 essays, and they're travel essays basically. Right. And kind of the theme is a lot of it is you know, me getting seasick and throwing up all over a boat, or, you know, crapping my pants in Cambodia. Or, I mean, you know, it's like, it's not
being
like
served fried cobra.
yeah, of course, yes, that almost being
Okay.
served cobra.
Okay.
What was that like?
Yeah, what was that like?
Well, this was in Vietnam, and this actually is one of the it's one of the essays in the book. So I was in Vietnam with my friend Sam and Steve, a couple other people, and we had hired a guide to take us here and there, and he took us to a restaurant one night. I saw on the menu, I'm like, oh, I saw that they had some snake on the menu. And I said, his name was Dong. I said, Dong, can we get some snake? And he kind of rolled up his eyes. He's like, no, these snake, no. Come with me tomorrow. I take you for cobra. Cobra's good for man. Yeah.
Okay. There you go.
So it was just me and Sam the next day, and so we kind of went on this tour and with like a floating market and stuff. And so then he took us to this out on the highway. It's like on the edge of town. It's already like strange.
That's scary.
Yeah, it's kind of weird. And this was my first time in Southeast Asia. I never, you know, first time in Vietnam, just days in the country. It's all kind of new and a little unfamiliar.
Days in the country and a little days to boot.
Yes, indeed. And so he takes us down these stairs in this basement.
Oh, man.
And there's like on the wall, there's this like mural of this big scary looking cobra. And we go into this back room and there's these bags hanging up. They're full of live cobras.
Okay.
And so he starts haggling with the guy, the owner and his wife. But I'm like, cool, let's do this. This is crazy. You know, because I know they eat it and you drink the blood with the bile. It's like this like manhood sort of thing. Macho. And then at one point, so we're there in the middle of the negotiation, and then Sam looks at me. And I'd been the guy pushing for this the whole time. Oh, yeah. Sam had never really, he was like, okay. I'm like, yeah, let's eat cobra, dude. It's going to be awesome. And Sam just looks at me. He's like, dude, I can't do it. I can't. He like backed out. He's like, I'm not doing it. He didn't want to do it.
Why not?
Because he never wanted to do it. I pushed him into it, you know? He was just like, yeah, I guess so. It was me trying to be like, you know, channeling my proto-Bourdain. And so Sam backs out. So then I have to tell our guide, I'm like, who's already mid-negotiation into buying a cobra. He's like, what size? You want big or small or medium or large cobra? I guess, you know, medium, I guess. You know, we back out, and he has to, so our guide has to explain to the owner that we're not buying the cobra, and everyone's disappointed. He loses face, which is a big deal. So we're back in the van. He's just driving in silence. You know, like we have lost all, you know, our manhood is evaporated in his eyes. And so finally we go to this like riverside restaurant with a bunch of tourists, and he orders some food, and yeah, they do have snake at this restaurant. I'm like, give me that snake. But so he's like, oh, here, come pick your snake. So I walk with him, and there's like these aquariums with just like this much water, and there's these listless, half-dead pythons just sitting in the water, not cobra, just pythons. It's like it's sitting in the muddy water, and I pick one. He's like, so the guy who's the restaurant owner grabs the python, and there's this whole table like German tourists like eating just right next, and he takes the python and just goes on the cement ground, just goes whap 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 whap, and brains the thing right in front of these people. And they're looking horror as they're eating their river fish, and it comes out like 20 minutes later. They kind of made it into like a pate, and it was oily and gross, and there were bits of vertebrae in it. It was not good. The end of the story is that, yeah, I never ate cobra. Yeah. Oh. Yeah, I was never man enough.
It's a letdown. I was waiting for that story about eating cobra, and then you don't eat it.
Yeah, that's
anticlimactic.
Yeah, but I think the bones of the story lie in the fact that we backed down.
You also do a lot of writing for National Geographic, right?
What? Oh, yeah.
Travel.
Yeah. That's this is kind of a newer thing. Yeah, I mean, I've been plugging away for years, and then in 2019, I got an email from National Geographic asking me to do a piece on soul, kind of out of the blue. It's the big leagues. It's like, whoa, okay.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, and then I did that, and then I went over to Japan and did a couple articles for them right before the pandemic hit. And then they keep hiring me for little things. It's mainly It's National Geographic Traveler magazine out of UK. It's a UK.
Okay.
So that's I've been working for them, and then I started working for Condé Nast Traveler, which is another big magazine, and Fodor's guidebooks, and so it's like, writing. If I make money from it, if it's if I get to do prestige gigs, that's great. But I'll just continue to write anyway because it's just what I like to do. Yeah.
It was now 2 days later, and my intestinal tract was in a state of civil war. I was nauseous and fevered, and the spigot had opened wide. Hot blasts, explosive, violent, and unpredictable, rumbled forth in unstoppable volleys from deep within my bowels. I was sweaty, weak, unshaven, and filthy. I had been wearing the same pair of olive shorts and faded green Seattle Supersonics t-shirt for over a week now, ever since my backpack containing the rest of my clothes, along with $300 cash, had disappeared from the belly of a long-distance bus. My one pair of underwear had since been abandoned in a guest house trash bin. I was in a state. For all of her tropical splendors, Laos, Southeast Asia's sleepiest country, had treated me roughly. It was time to get the hell out, so I boarded a white minibus that trundled across the border and into the realm of her tough little sister, Cambodia.
I remember, this was last week when we had a little powwow.
Yeah.
I said what I wanted for this episode. I mispronounced the word anecdote.
Yeah, yeah.
As antidote.
Yeah.
You had some wise wisdom about that. Can you explain that?
Yeah, but we were talking. You were asking me, hey, what?
Antidotes for
Yeah,
the story.
Yeah. Why don't you tell us some travel antidotes?
I meant to say anecdotes.
Yeah, and then you corrected yourself right afterwards.
Yeah.
But then I thought, wow, that's cool, Danny. Travel antidotes, which is kind of like, because that's kind of, travel is a kind of antidote, isn't it? It is. I mean, for me, it's as soon as you pack that bag and you start moving, it's just everything's new and exciting, and it kind of sharpens your senses in a way that everyday life we get in ruts, life can get dull, and then travel is the antidote for that. So I didn't think you. I love how your mistake was actually kind of something cool.
Inspiring.
Yeah. Well, absolutely, yeah.
So what are you doing now? What are you working on now?
I'm, aside from doing articles here and there, I've been working on a novel for the past almost about 5 years now. It's been one of those things that I'll do a bit on and put it to bed and do a bit on, because I have
like George R. Martin.
Yeah, I know. But at least he at least he's done 4 of them. This one I can't quite. I'm almost finished. And I'm not really. I've written some fiction over the years, a few stories. I wrote a novella, very little of it published. But this novel, I kind of like the idea, and I finally started doing it, and it makes me laugh. And I sent it to a little publisher, and they really liked it, and they want to put it out. They did a few years ago. I don't know if they want to anymore. But it's kind of one of those things that I'm excited about. It entertains me. It's kind of the book I've wanted to read. So when I finish it, we'll see what happens with it. But I hope to finish it this month, because this July, I have some free time. I'm done with my assignments I was doing for whoever, and I'm excited about it. We'll see what happens. So.
All right. So you're excited about the book? Well, we're excited to have you here.
Well, great. Thanks for having me today. This has been a lot of fun.
No problem at all. I think that was a great segue, by the way.
Yeah, nice. Excellent. Yeah.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
Well, anyway, if you like this, please remember to like, share, subscribe. If you haven't already subscribed. And don't forget to hit that bell icon and get updated when something new comes along. And also, don't forget, we're all over the place on social media. We're on Facebook, Twitter, and also on Instagram now. We're on Instagram. Chris, thank you for coming by.
Thank you, guys. It's been fun. Yeah.
Do you have a blog online?
Yeah, well, you can, how do you find me? I have a portfolio, a blog. My blog, if you want to read my blog, it's called Rant Alley. That's RANTALLEY. Just look that up.
Down here.
Yeah, Rant.
We'll put some
Rant
in there.
Alley, also Chris Tharp Expat on Twitter, and also just I have an open Facebook policy. If you want to, I put a lot of my writing on Facebook. So if you want to friend me on Facebook, unless you're like a complete troll, you're welcome into the fold. And so that's probably the best place to find me, really, and you'll get everything. Yeah.
Okay, well, thank you for coming in.
Now this has been great. Thanks a lot, guys.
All right. Okay.
And this has been
This has been a Talk on the Table. See you later.